advanced financial modeling, and particularly in Kenya and East Africa, just trying to ensure that we are able to leverage on other advanced financial markets and ensure that the Kenyan professionals get the best knowledge from the advanced financial markets like India and the US. So back to our exercise, I want us to come up with some random numbers as most of us would do. Maybe if I want to create some random numbers, I can just do this. This is quite a tedious way of doing it. So the best thing would be I just need to highlight all these functions. Then there is an Excel function called random and random between. Random will generate random numbers from 1 and then tending to infinity. So I wouldn't want to work with the range of 1, the next number is 1 billion. So I want to limit my random numbers to a given range. Let's say 5 million to, let's say, 18 million. Please note what I've done. Our starting point is just trying to ensure that we are good in advanced shortcuts. So other than creating my random numbers here, and then I copy all to this region, as you can see, it's taking some few seconds. So the best thing would be that if I want to use this range, then I ensure that the highlighted cell is the active one. So I can come up with my formula here, random between 5 million to 18 million. If I want to copy that formula to the whole of that region, I just need to do Control Enter, and there I have my values. Then I want to retain these values and at the same time do away with these formulas through something that we call copy paste special. So I can just do Control C for copy. I can right click and then I can go to paste special and use this tab here for values. If I want to do it in a more shorter way, I can just do Control A to highlight all the figures, then do Control C, Control Alt V, and then I can pick on values. There we go. I have all my values without the formulas. So I would want to have the separators, because as we can all see, it will be very hard for me to read this value, trying to guess whether is it 1.3 million, is it 13 million, because we don't have the separators. So I would want to do the separators, and the shortcut for doing the separators is Alt H K to change the number formatting to accounting. If I want to reduce the number of decimal places, I can do Alt H 9. I want to reduce again, Alt H 9 again. I want to advise the class that the most important thing when it comes to getting it right in Excel shortcuts, it's not really trying to memorize the shortcuts. The most important and the basic starting point is knowing how to call the shortcut window, and we use Alt to call the shortcut window. So let me undo what we've done so far. So this was the starting point. I want to introduce the separators, or rather convert this data into the accounting data type. Conventionally, using my mouse, I would go to home. I'm already at the home. Then come to number formatting here, right? And then choose my separators here. This is what I'm trying to do using the Excel shortcut. And remember what you said, that the most starting point is knowing how to call the shortcut window. So remember, using the conventional way, I went to home, then I chose on this formatting tab here. So I want to do it using shortcut. Click on Alt. It's so intuitive. I have H assigned to home, right? So home. Conventionally, I would click on this tab here, which has been assigned FM. And remember, we are hitting on our shortcut one at a time. You don't need to do it continuously. That is to mean you're holding Alt H at the same time. No, it's not possible, or it's not important. So I can do Alt H, either FM, or if I want a quick one to introduce the separators, these separators, so I can just do K. So that is the short way of doing it. I want to reduce the number of decimal places, so I can conventionally use these, right? Alternatively, I can just do Alt H 9. So let's see, if I want to have the totals here, what would be the best way to do it? Conventionally, I can come here and say is equal to sum. I highlight this array here, and there I have my totals. Then I can drag these, I do copy paste, I highlight the destination range, and then I say Control V to copy the formula. It may look like an efficient way of doing it, but the truth is that I've already wasted about 15 seconds. I would call it wasting. When you're doing financial modeling, you don't have that time, and for you to be efficient in financial modeling, then it means that you need to get it right in Excel efficiency. You need to be fast. So I want to introduce to you the best shortcut to do the summations. So I can just control, I want to highlight all this data. The alternative is doing Control A. I want to have my summations in this row. That is row number 13, row number 1, 3. So highlight the whole of the data range, then do Alt equal sign at the same time. Alt equal sign. Alt equal sign will give you the summations in my anticipated row, which is row number 13. So I want to do that again. I need to highlight all this data. Control A. I want to have the totals or the summations in row number 13. So I do Alt equal sign at the same time, continue at the same time, and I have my totals here. So when we are doing data manipulation and operations, it's very, very important how you format your data. So we need to have it in a more intuitive way, such that every other person will tell that these are our totals. By having it as bold, just need to do Control B, right? One of the generally accepted practices for financial modeling is the way you format your data and the way you format your worksheets as well. For any executive reports or a report that is intended for the audience of your clients, please ensure that you don't work with grid lines, and you will agree with me that the way this data looks here looks totally different from when I don't have the grid lines, right? So as you can see, this data looks more presentable and looks more executive as compared to when I'm using the grid lines. So that is what basically one of the many financial modeling gaps that we use. I want to show you how to do the grid lines using shortcuts. Please note how I'm doing it using the conventional techniques of the mouse or the pad. I need to go to View. Then I need to tick or untick the grid lines. So this time I want to do it using my shortcut. and we agreed that to call the shortcut window, you need to do Alt. Then we want to go to view, which has been assigned W. Then we want to hit on VG for grid lines, which is this one here. So the moment you do this over and over again, you get accustomed to the shortcut to the extent that you even don't need to make references to the ribbon here to see which way to go, right? So far, what have we done? We've done our totals here, and I'll repeat again. Control A to highlight all the data selected, and then at the same time you hit on Control. So you long press Control and the equal sign. Here we have our totals. I would want to have the borders. There we go. Within a second, you should be in a position to do your borders. So let's do it conventionally. If I want to have the totals border here, I need to come to Home. Then I need to go to Borders here. And then I need to select the border lines that I want. For instance, in my case, I am so much used to using the top and bottom border. This one here. So that's how we do it. So using the shortcut, we just need to highlight here. And then we do Alt H. The borders have been assigned B, so I go to B. Then I want to have the top and bottom, which has been assigned as D. That was just a way of introducing my session. I want us to go to more important financial modeling in Excel issues that are so pertinent and teething issues to most of the finance and investment analysts. I want us to start with circular reference. So circular reference here. So before anything else, I want to introduce the concept of circular reference. Circular reference happens when you are referring a cell to itself, either directly or indirectly. And this is what I mean. Here I am in cell number C11. So I can say that cell number C11 is equal to cell number 12. So that means that cell number 11 is unknown, and it's meant to derive its value from cell number 12. So again, if I say that cell number 12 is equal to, let's say, 50% of cell number 1, then that means that I'm referring that cell to itself, right? And ideally, it should be giving us an error here. Is equals to C13. In return, C13 is equals to C12. So this is the error that we call circular reference, and it happens when you are referring a cell to itself, either directly or indirectly. So how important is circular reference? Why do we need to bother with circular reference when we are doing financial modeling? This is because anytime you are doing a financial model, you are creating a financial model, the aspect of circular reference can never be avoided. This can never be avoided. So how important is it, and how is the circular path created whenever we are doing we are creating our financial models? I want to take you through how we build our cash flows, because this is tied to the source of circular reference. You will remember that we will have our, start from here. We will have our P&L there. Then we will have our balance sheet here. We are building our financial model. And then we will have our cash flow here. So I want us to discuss how a financial model is created. First, we do the cash flow. How do we define, or how do we structure our cash flow? For us to get a complete cash flow, then it means that we need to start with our operating cash flows here, then investment cash flows, then financing cash flows, then eventually we will have our closing bank there. Please do remember that this is to mean that cash flows derive their values from the P&L, right? As well as the balance sheet. At the point of creating the cash flow, the balance sheet may seem complete, but it's not correct, because a forecasted balance sheet means that the cash position cannot be ascertained from the bank statement, because the bank, these are just pro forma financials, projected financials. So the fact that the balance sheet is not complete with the bank position, it means that we need to derive our bank position from a particular source, and this particular source will definitely be the cash flow, because in our cash flow we've already estimated the closing balance for that specific year. So we will again need to model our balance sheet such that it will borrow from our cash flow, right? So that means that the P&L that we had initially, although it may seem complete, it's not complete, because this P&L will have the aspect of interest expense and interest income. For us to estimate the interest expense, then there is the issue of interest on bank balance or interest expense on OD. Remember, the cash balance, the bank balance that is coming from the cash flow here may be an OD or a positive cash balance. So after adjusting our balance sheet here, then it means that the cash position will change. If this cash position changes, it could be an OD. If it's an OD, then it will generate interest expense, right? That means the previously modeled P&L, will again adjust and create new figures that will go to the cash flow. Because when we are modeling the cash flow, we start with the profits, then we adjust profits with non-cash items, we adjust with working capital requirements, we adjust with the capex, the investing activities, and all that. So basically, this will create a circular reference, and that is why it's very, very important. That is basically the essence. This is basically the essence of us knowing how to deal with circular references. So I want us to come up with a scenario here. We have a company that has got a policy of giving back to the society through donations, and as a policy, the company gives 5% of its profits to the society as donations. So how do we model this, and how will this introduce us to the aspect of circular reference? So I want us to assume that we have revenue of 950. Staff cost of let's assume 200,000. Donations, we don't know the donations. We have our totals here, the total expense. Remember, the total expense should be the total of all these items here, including the donations. So how do we get our profit? The profit will be derived from the sales minus the total expenses. Now, this is where the problem starts. Remember, we don't have donations, and we've said that donations will be a percentage of the total profits here. Yet the total profit, for us to get the total profit, then we need to have taken into account the donation. This is to mean that the donation here is unknown and the profits here is unknown as well. So this function will not go through and it will create that circular reference. When you are modeling your three financial statements, the balance sheet, the P&L, and the cash flow, the interest expense is a function of iteration. It is a function of a circular reference. And that's why I'm saying that circular reference will never be avoided. And the more the reason we need then to figure it out how we deal with circular reference. So for us to get any value here, then it means that we need to do a trial and error, because this is unknown and this is unknown. So we will assume that we need 5% of this. Let me do it from here. We need 5% of these. Oops, sorry. 5% times. So this should be the donations, but definitely the donations will be less than 24%, because it will be less than 24,000, because 24,000 is the 5% of our profit here, but before donations. I need to have 24,000 here, and I cannot do a circular reference. I can do a formula here because it will give me a circular reference. So this is what I'm trying to avoid. So I can have my computation here, and then I have the absolute value posted here. That is a paste special, and we've said that paste special is used whenever you want to paste a value without its formula. You will realize that this figure will keep on changing, will keep on going down. So we need to do this, all this trial and error until a point reaches where this value here equates to this. This is called iterative calculations. This is an iteration. So it's never given the number of times that you should run this until these figures agree, right? I have about 1% to balance this figure. Now, as you can see, now this figure and this figure is already balanced. Of course, you are not expected to do these iterations. These iterations may be run as many times as 1 million times. So you don't expect to be doing these each and every time that you're modeling your cash. So the best way to deal with the circular reference when you are building the models is to ensure that the circular reference can go through. So you ensure that if your settings to the extent that Excel will allow that error, if I can call it an error for this at this juncture. So Let's do it here. So these will be our summations. Our profit will be this, the sales minus the total expenses. Donation, again we will get the error, 5% times this to give us the error. So this is what we want to do away with. We want to force Excel to admit this calculation. So what is required of you is you are supposed to go to File, you go and change, you enable the iterative calculations, and that is usually under options. If you are using Excel 2013, you go to formulas and then you enable the iterative calculations. So if I enable the iterative calculations here, all the manual trial and error calculations that I did here will happen automatically. This will happen automatically without giving me an error. And this is the same figure that I had here. So basically that is how we deal with circular reference. In case you have any questions that you want to shoot to me, I encourage you to do a chat message and I'll be very happy to respond to that. So we now move to forecasting other scenarios. We now move to forecasting other scenarios. Now, I want to introduce the aspect of what if analysis. Anytime you are coming up with your projections, you may want to know what would happen if these parameter changes. What would happen if, say, sales increases by 40%? What happens if my assumptions are not right? So that is what we call what if or sensitivity analysis. You are testing, let's say, the outcome of the model. It could be the valuation, it could be the profitability. You want to assess the outcome of that model should any of the parameters change. That is called what if analysis. If you combine a different set of assumptions that are gonna change, then you create something we call a scenario. So a scenario is the sensitivity. A scenario analysis is the sensitivity to a model, assuming a different set number of inputs are changed. So we have so many different ways of assessing scenarios, including using the if statements and the nested if statements, which are quite time consuming and basically not the best. I will not go to that because it's not the best approach. So I actually wouldn't want us to have a discussion along that line. Now we are doing our income forecasting for a company called Gamma Arabic. So we will need to do our P&L here, and the P&L will have the revenue. We have revenue from 3 main products. Housing, these are a paint making company. Hi Jack, thank you. Please, class, I encourage you to have a look at the comment that Jack Smith has posted. Please, let's ensure that we have our audio option changed to computer audio so that you can get me there. Two seconds. Please click on the audio option and choose the computer audio as your selection. please change from phone call to computer audio. Please change from phone call to computer audio, just in case your selection is on phone call. Now, great. So we want to do a projection on 3 product lines, which will give us the total revenue here. Then we need to have to do projection on
Mr. Stanley, sorry to interrupt. Jack the sign. Mr. Peter is telling you to repeat the calculation on the foundations. Okay, you can check the chat box. Thank you.
Hi Jack, please come up again.
You can check the chat box. Mr. Peter is requesting you to repeat the calculation for donations.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Thanks a lot, Jack.
And to all participants, let me inform you that we are recording this session, and we will be providing you the recorded session for all this calculations. Okay. Thank you. Stanley, you can continue.
It's okay, thanks a lot, Jack. So we say that there is 2 ways of dealing with circular reference. One way is doing the iterative calculation, and iterative calculation is basically a trial and error. We need to find what percentage, what value will be equal to 5%, given that the donation is unknown here and the profit is unknown. So the moment you have 2 unknowns, that creates a big challenge. So unless you do a trial and error, up to the time the error difference becomes extremely minimal. So we have 2 ways of doing it. You can either do it manually, which is highly inefficient, or you can enable the iterative calculations on your Excel such that the Excel will bypass the circular reference error, right? So the point here that we are trying to derive is, I want to set my Excel to the default settings. I want to set it to the default settings. So how do we estimate the donations here? Assuming that donations is 5%. So if I say is equal to 5% times this amount here, I'm going to get an error. So that is the starting point. We need to understand why are we doing the iterative calculations. So I will do my calculations of this table array here. I do it from another cell that is not interconnected with my totals here. So I want to do it from here. So is equal to 5% times this, right? So if we assume that the donations will be 24,000, it's special to have the values without the formula. This value will keep on changing. So I need to repeat that process up to the point where these 2 values will be equal. So I need to copy this, paste it here, and please remember that you should not paste using the formulas. If you paste using the formulas, then you create the circular reference error. So you need to use, ensure that you are using your paste special, again formulas. You continue doing this until these 2 values become the same. until these two values become the same. Now, that is one way of bypassing the circular reference, though using some manual intervention, which can take you ages. You can imagine if you need to run these iterations for 1,000 times. So the most optimal way of doing this is allowing Excel to bypass the circular reference error. And we are doing this by going to the Excel options. If you are using Excel 2013, go to File, come to Options. If you are using Excel 2010, you will come to File, then you will find a tab for Excel Options. So click on Excel Options for Excel 2010. For Excel 2013, please go to Options. So at the Options, you go to Formula. At the Formula, then you enable the iterative calculations, such that if I now connect my donations here with the profit here, I will not get an error. Peter, I hope I have answered your question. Please, if you want me to repeat, please go ahead and give me a comment. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, team. So we now move forward to creating different scenarios within our financial model. So you may have a financial model, and someone would want to know what would be the results of this model at a different set of assumptions. So that's what we call scenarios. You're trying to assess what will be the impact of the valuation, assuming that profits are not growing at the estimated 10%. The cost of equity is not steady at the assumed, let's say, 12%. So you've got several inputs that need to be assessed. So our inputs here, we will be having growth rate at different product levels. So we will come up with some assumptions that let's say this product here, the housing product, grows by, let's say, 50%. So when you're building scenarios, traditionally we usually come up with 3 scenarios. We have the best case scenario. Please allow me to delete this first. You have best case scenario, then you have the base case scenario. Base case scenario is basically the most probable case scenario, and then you have the worst case scenario. So we want to come up with some optimistic assumptions on growth, optimistic assumptions on expenses. So for product 1, let's be optimistic that profits will grow by 50%, but most likely we anticipate this to grow by 40%. So that is the base case. But if the worst comes to be, then this can grow by, let's say, 25%. So these are our set of different scenarios on product 1, which is housing. So product 2, we assume that the growth rate will be 45%. The most probable state will be that 5%. On our worst case scenario, this grows by 20%. Auto, we assume that this grows by 30%, 15%, 5% here. For expenses, of course, it will have to be reversed. If we are highly optimistic of the growth in expenses, then it means that the expenses are growing at a much low rate. So we will assume that this grows by 10%. 15%, 30%. Let's assume this grows by 15% on a best case scenario. Best case scenario, we assume that will grow by 25, and if things work extremely bad, this expense here grow by 50%. So we want to come up with a capability that will be able to tweak these scenarios and give us the respective results here without any manual intervention. So we have different way of doing it. The most popular way of doing this is using what we call a combo box. We have a combo box. Please, if you don't, this is what we call the Excel ribbon. The components being home, insert, page layout, formulas, all the way up to view. By default, you will not have developer. Developer is usually an inserted tab menu. So please go to your file, go to options. Under options, go to custom ribbon. Go to custom ribbon. And then ensure that your developer tab is ticked. Ordinarily you will have the developer unticked. Please have it ticked, because I want us to use combo box. Combo box is part of the developer tools. I'm talking about combo box. So this is a very awesome technique of tweaking the different scenarios. So under my developer, please go to insert. At the insert, we have different forms of, we have two different sets of our controls. There is what we call the form controls, and there is what we call the ActiveX controls. I will not go into the depth of discussing each and every item here, because this is mainly for developers when you are trying to create some codes. So even if you've never heard of any coding, you've never tried any coding, that will be perfect. So you don't need to be encouraged by the developer. You don't need to be discussed by the developer. You don't need to be a guru in macros and Visual Basics. So if you can hover around the different form controls, you will get their names. This is a button. So I want to use the combo box, and this is what we call a combo box. I draw the combo box here. And before moving any further, I would want to clarify the difference between combo box and a drop-down menu, because they seem the same and they can easily confuse. There is two ways of creating a drop-down list. There is using the combo box, and the other alternative is through the use of data validation techniques, which is add data. I come to data, and then I do a data validation. I want to limit the data input in this particular cell here, so I can change the cell rule such that this cell does not just allow any value to be keyed in. And I can limit my selection to a particular list. And I can say, I can define my list to be this best case, or base case, and worst case scenario. There I go. I have a drop-down list here. I have a drop-down list here, which you will agree with me a user can quickly confuse a drop-down menu created from data validation and the combo box created from the developer. So I wanted to have that clarified. So what we are using here is a combo box. So what does a combo box do? I want to have the different sets of scenarios incorporated in this combo box here, in this drop down box here. So I need to model the control options. So you right click on the combo box, go to form controls, and then you input the range. The input range, what we are talking about here is what do you want included as a list for this tool here. So I need to highlight my different set of scenarios. Let's test this. We have best case, we have base, we have worst case scenario. Please go ahead and post your comments. I'm still checking on your comments. So I have my different scenarios all incorporated in a drop down. So there are two things that need to be figured out when you are dealing with a combo box. One is the input reference range. What exactly do you want listed as the selection options? And this is what we are talking about, our different scenarios here. The other thing that needs to be defined is how, okay, let me first discuss how a combo box works. The combo box works by converting the numeric range that you have here, the numeric of the different options. In this case, we have 3 options. So a combo box will assign a numeric value to each and every option here. So it will assign value 1 to best case, 2 to base, 3 to worst case scenario. If I had a 4th case, then it would be assigned numeric value 4, right? So besides defining our input range, we also need to define where will the numeric value be posted by Excel, and that's what we are calling the cell link. I will show you why it's very much important to have a numeric value equivalent. So I want to say the numeric value, I want the numeric value posted here. And I've already defined my input range. So let's see what happens. I select base. Base is converted to a numeric value of 1. Base converted to numeric value of 2. So for the purposes of ensuring that my users do not get lost as to what are these 2 and 1 means, I always prefer hiding that numeric value with my combo box. I always prefer doing that. So I want us to now start tweaking the different scenarios. Our growth, we have 2015 figures here, and these are actual figures. So this means that come 2016, the value for 2016 will be 100% times the selected plus the selected growth here. So if we select best case scenario, then we will have 50% as the growth. So the housing revenue will be 100% plus 50%. That gives us 150% times what we had last year, right? So I want each and every time the user selects a given scenario, I want the growth rate to be populated here. We will use a form of a lookup function called choose. Choose function is one of the many lookup functions that we have. So I will say is equal to choose. I will explain this. What choose does, you need to define a given set of scenarios. In this case, we have 3 scenarios here, 50%, 40%, and 25%. Then Excel will assign numeric values given the same order here. So if you want to choose 1, then it will pick 50. If you want to choose 3, then it will pick 25%. The 1 and the 2 and the 3 is what we are calling the reference values. Our reference values, other than writing 1 here, because I want my model to be numeric, or rather to be dynamic, such that it has got some interactivity. I can interact with this Excel without necessarily going to each and every cell. So what I need to do, I need to pick my reference value or the so-called index number from what I have selected here. So this is the reference value that I want, the index column. So I want to choose 2, which I have here, and match it with the different scenarios that I have here. So that is value 1, value 2, value 3. I have 40%. If I go to scenario 1, which is best case, it will give me 50%. So let's do the same case here. I want to choose this index number here and match it against these 3 different values here. And that is how the choose function works. So I want to drag that formula to the right. So the first alternative is I can copy, highlight, then do control V. Oops, nope. I needed to have locked my index number such that even if I drag the formula to the right, it's always picking cell number B9 here, this one, as the index number. So I need to lock this. So I want to test whether this is working correctly. 40%, worst case. So worst case is picking 25%, 20%, 5%, 30%, 50%. Yeah. This is how we use COBOL to do scenario modeling. So I've hidden my index number here because most of the users, unless they are financial modelers, they will not understand what that numeric value means. So I really don't want to retain it. So I would want to come up with an intuitive way of telling the user what set of scenario has been selected. So I would want to come up with a way that will make the selected scenario here display. So I can do the best approach. The best approach here will be doing numeric. I can do conditional formatting. So I want to format this range here such that any value that has been repeated by virtue of the choose here, then that line need to be highlighted in a particular color. So I go to conditional formatting and then I highlight my cell rules, and the rule that I want to set is that any value that has been highlighted, or rather duplicated, needs to be highlighted. And there we go. So if I choose best case scenario, then I expect the 50% here to be highlighted. And I can do that for all the other sets. So I go to conditional formatting, highlight cells, and then I set the duplicate value as my rule. So this is basically to make my model more intuitive to the user. There we go. There we go. So let's model this. What will be the housing revenue in 2016? It will be 100%, or 100% is the same as 1, plus the scenario that we have, the growth that we have assumed here. This will give me 125%. So the housing revenue should be 125% times what we had last year, right? But remember, we have about 5 years to project, but the growth rate here will remain the same regardless of the year. So that means that I need to lock my 25% here, which is cell number D9, and we lock using F4. By locking, I ensure that if I drag this formula to the right, it will always be making reference to this cell. Because without locking, let me unlock again, F4, 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 unless you don't have any dollar sign. So if I don't lock and run this formula to the right, then it means that the reference growth rate will be changing, right? So here I want to do the projection for the auto product, yet I'm picking the growth for, sorry, I want to do the projection for the housing product, yet I'm picking the growth for the auto product. That is the essence of locking any reference cell that you don't want to change. So our growth for the woodwork product will be 1%, sorry, 100%, alternatively 1, plus this growth here. Again, I need to lock this because I will be dragging the formula times the revenue for last year. Auto is equal to 1 plus this formula, oops, sorry, is equal to 1 plus this formula here, lock using the dollar sign. All that will give us 101%. That means that the auto revenue for this year will be 105% times what we had last year. So can drag this formula, and then here we have our totals. Again, remember the shortcut that I did take you through on how to get the totals in a very quick way. You highlight all the subject cells, and then you do Alt equal sign, and down here you will have your totals. So the projection for production cost, assuming our current scenario, which is the worst case scenario, then our production cost will grow by 30%. Lock that times what we had last year. Projection for overheads, it will be 1% plus 50 sorry, not 1%, 100%, which is the same as 1 plus 50% log, please. All this multiplied by what we had last year. And then I need to have my totals here. Then I need to have my EBITDA. And the EBITDA will be the revenue minus the total operating expenses. So I want us to test the scenario tweaking capability of my combo box here. What if I change from worst to best case scenario? Is everything flowing? Yes, it is from base. So basically this is how we can use advanced Excel skills like the combo box to incorporate scenario modeling in our basic financial models. So again, please remember how we've come up with the conditional formatting here, that if I select the best case scenario, the scenario here will be highlighted, right? So that means that even if I hide that reference there and I change the scenarios here, the user will still see the scenario that is being selected. So I will give you maybe some 2 minutes or a minute. If you have any question, please write to me and I'll be very happy to respond to you. In the meantime, I would want to pass the meeting back to our organizer, Jack Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley. Thank you for such a great demonstration. Yes, to the participants, if you wish to ask anything, you can write in the chat box and Mr. Stanley will be taking care of your query. Mr. Stanley, Peter is asking something. Have a look on the chat box.
Sure. I'm doing that, Jack.
Yeah.
Peter, thanks a lot. I want to repeat what I've done here, Peter, and I will repeat with a new combo box. This is what we are doing. I go to my developer. Remember, from the onset, your workbook will not have the developer unless at one point in time you did manually insert your developer tab. This is what I mean, Peter. Ordinarily, you will not have your developer tab here. So you need to ensure that your developer tab is active here by going to File, then going to Options, then going to Custom Ribbon. At the Custom Ribbon, you will see the inactive developer tab here. So you need to ensure that the developer tab is now ticked. And there we go. Here it comes. So after having the combo box here, after having the developer here, then we can insert the combo box, which I said is part of the form controls that we have at the insert. So sorry for that. You can just hover over the different form controls, just trying to ensure that you can get the specific control form that you want. So we have the checkbox, we have the drop down, the spin box, we have the checkbox, the option box, we have the scroll bars. Please ensure that you are picking the combo box. So you pick the combo box, the cover box needs to be drawn. So you come here and draw the cover box. Please, my friend Peter, if there's something that is still not clear, please post the comment. I'll be able to see your comment. So now I have my cover box here. I want to define the rules of this cover box. I want to tell the cover box what to do. So right click on the cover box, go to the form controls, go to format control, go to the format control. Then I need to define what will be listed by the cover box. What will be listed by the cover box is what we are calling the input range. And the input range is what the user of the model sees, the user of the model selects. And these are basically the scenarios, the three scenarios that we have here, right? So this is now what will be listed by the cover box. And we've said that cover box has a way of converting the selected scenario into a numeric value depending on how they have been serially arranged here. So in this case here, we have best case scenario, and worst case scenario. It means that cover box will assign value 1 to best case scenario, 2 to base, and 3 to worst case scenario. So after assigning that value to the different selection options that we have, where will that value be stored by Excel? That's what we are calling the cell link. So I want to define the cell that will host the numeric value. I have it here, and then I'm done with my format controls for my cover box. So I want to test these. Do I have the different set of scenarios within the list here? There we go. We have best, and worst. So if I select on, let's say, best case scenario, will I have a 2 assigned to the cell that I have nominated? There we go. I have my 2 there, which can change to 1, which can change to 3. So Peter, I hope I've answered your question. In case it's not totally familiar, please let me know. In the meantime, I'm just going through the other participants' comments.
Mr. Abdirazak has asked about the best case and the worst case meaning.
Hi, Mohammed. Thanks a lot. Now, when we are dealing with scenarios, in a financial model, is the starting point for any financial model is definition of your assumptions. What would be the assumptions for, let's say, my revenue grows? Will revenue be growing? If yes, at what rate will it be growing, right? So that kind of scenario, that kind of assumption can be tested or challenged by different users. So it becomes imperative to have these scenarios at different levels of optimism, right? So I can assume that if everything works well, then my growth rate will be the highest possible growth rate. Now, that is a best case scenario, right? But most of the models are based on the base case, the most probable state of event, and that's what we are calling the base case. So if you're defining your base case scenario, you could use the historical growth figures to estimate that historically my revenue has been growing at 15%. So do I expect anything to change such that the growth rate will be changing? Am I introducing any new products? If not, then I can assume that the same growth rate will be replicated in future. So that is the most probable state of event, and that is what we are calling the base case scenario. The worst case scenario is very, very important, because anytime you are coming up with a financial model, let's say you are doing it for the purposes of an investment, the investor would want to know if the worst comes to be, how much do I start to lose? So the worst case scenario is a set of the most pessimistic assumptions, Mohammed. So Mohammed, just in case that is still not clear, I'll be very happy to respond to you. In the meantime, I'm going through other participants' comments. Edward, thanks a lot for the question. So Edward is asking how we are doing the color coding, not coding, the color formatting. Now we are doing this under what we call conditional formatting. Under conditional formatting, I have different figures here, and I would want to come up with a formatting rule that says, out of these numbers, any number that has been repeated, then that cell needs to be highlighted in a specific color for ease of my attention. And that is basically what conditional formatting and the duplicate values do. So I need to highlight my range here and define that rule, which in this case the rule is the duplicate values. So what do I want to do with the duplicate values? The duplicate values, I need the duplicate values to be highlighted in a specific color. I can change the colors to the one that fits my convenience, but by default there will be the right red, which comes by default. So if I change this value from 5, and remember 5 is repeated here, if I change this value to, let's say, 0, no cell will be highlighted. If I change 9 to 7, both this cell here and this cell will be highlighted, just for the convenience of my attention. Edward. So I hope that is clear. Please, team, let's post our questions. I'll be very happy to assist.
Yeah, anybody more having any question? If you have any question, you can write one in the chat box. Otherwise, we can conclude this session now. Please let me know. If you have any question, you're writing any question, write one in the chat box. Well, it seems the participants are okay with the session now, because we are not coming up with any of the question. Yes, we got one question from Mr. Anthony.
Tony, let me see.
Yeah, you can just scroll in the chat, and he has written, "Hi Stan, is it possible to have a rule where housing has best case while say woodwork has best case?"
Tony, I think Tony need to clarify something there. I think what he has written is the same thing. where housing has best case, that is housing has best case, where woodwork has best case. Tony, did you please let me know whether you meant housing has best case where woodwork has base?
Yeah, there
Please
should be
let me
some
know whether
difference.
that.
Yeah.
Sure. I've seen it. Now, Anthony, what needs to be formatted is not the selection here. It is the growth rate. Otherwise, if you want the best case scenario, then it will apply for all the products here. So if you want to have best case scenario, you select best case scenario, but choose best case here and best case here or worst case here. No, you will not do that using a combo box. And either way, from which angle you look at it, I don't think it will be that essential to include different sets of scenarios. Let's say 2 sets of scenarios within your model. Remember, we also have different audience. If you are talking to maybe the management would be more concerned to know the most probable state of event, right? An investor, besides getting to understand the most probable state of event, because of his risk appetite, he would want to know what would be the worst case scenario. So for that case, you will need to have your model at the precise different levels of assumptions. Shitad.
Okay, I think that Mr. Stanley has just quizzed all your questions, and in the last I would like to announce that we have an upcoming session for 4 days coming up from 24th of September. Okay, and that will be a weekend session where Mr. Stanley will take a classroom training, okay, on the advanced Excel for financial modeling session, and that will be a complete course which will run for the 4 weekends. Okay, so if anybody is willing to learn this technique of advanced Excel for the financial modeling, then he or she is most welcome to enroll for the session. For any clarification, for any more queries and information, you can write to Florence or you can write back to me. Do you want to ask any question regarding the training session? Okay, Mr. Peter is asking that are we whether based in Kenya? No, we are not based in Kenya, but we have our continuous sessions running up in Hotel Hilton. Okay, and Mr. Stanley has been taking this session from long. Okay, so this session will also be there in the same hotel for this time also. Okay, and we are based in USA. Okay, we have our company's headquarters in USA and we are functional from there. Mr. Daniel, of course, this training is not for free because we have our fixed costing as well. You can think we are hiring Hotel Hilton and we are also engaging Mr. Stanley, so this cannot be a free session at all.
Hi, Jack.
Yeah.
Let me comment on something there. I
Sure.
would want to maybe advise the client who is asking about the tariff.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say that our classes are not free, but they are the most affordable. If you do a comparison on the offers that are available in the market, I think you can come up with a very good conclusion.
Yeah, right. Definitely. We totally agree. Sure. And for that case, what I need to do, I will just send all the participants who are enrolled there with the recorded session, as well as we are sending you the details of the training session that is going to happen from 24th. I think that will be best guiding you through the training sessions. Yeah, Mr. Anthony, I will send you the details of the financial modeling brochure, which will give you all the details of the topic-wise discussion that we will take in all those 4 days. And this was just a glimpse of what we are taking in the 4 days. This was just 1 hour of that. Okay, so you can think of the 4 days that covers all the financial modeling. It is huge. And for Mr. Daniel, he's asking that he need to join an online session. Okay, so Mr. Daniel, whenever we are having one online session, definitely I will let you know. Okay, and you can join that session. But recently, I think there is no online session. Yes, there is a certificate for this. Okay, we have two types of certificate. One is for the certificate of participation that is provided to the participants who participate in this training session, okay, after the end of the class. Okay, and there is one another certificate that is called certificate of excellence, that you can apply for this certificate of excellence within the 3 months of training. Okay, the day on which the training has ended, and you think that you are now proficient with the knowledge of the financial modeling, you can write back to us. We will send you one case-based questionnaire as well as a financial modeling development. Okay, you can develop a financial model, okay, and you can send it back to us based on the case that we have provided you, and our experts will judge on the financial modeling skills that you have implemented in that case solving. Okay, and if you are gaining 85% of the accuracy, then we will award you with the certificate of excellence. Let me make it clear that MindCypress is a Google partner as well. Yeah, Mr. Stanley has written in the chat box that during the classroom training session, you all will be building the complete model, and we will also share you with the complete files for your future reference. He mean to say that we will provide you with the pre and the post classroom study materials, which will cover all the sections that we are dealing in the classroom session, and even more than that. Okay, you can practice of your own, you can read that thing, you can means revise whenever you are willing to do that, and you can learn on the concepts according to your pace. Now, if anybody is interested in the classroom session taking place from the 24th of September in Nairobi, Kenya, you can write one in the chat box. Okay, I think the audience needs some time to take the decision upon. So no issues. What we will do, Mr. Stanley, right now, we will be concluding the session for now, and we will be reaching the participants over the email so that they can have a fair idea, so that they can take time to just come upon any decision regarding the session. Okay, what they want to learn, because they will, I think that they will like to know what we are teaching in the classroom. So we will be sending them the brochure so that they can have a clear decision upon joining the classroom session or not.
So thanks a lot, Jack.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks a lot, Jackson.
Yeah.
So, dear members, just in case you have any question that has been left untouched, or probably a question comes thereafter, you can always write to Florence or Jack, and we'll be very happy to assist.
Sure. If you got any question, then do let me know. You have the Florence Kimani ID with you. Okay, you can write back to her. Okay, and she will be providing us the information regarding your query. Okay, and we will be very shortly resolving that. Okay, and let me clarify that people are having busy schedule. Sure for that, and we wish to inform that we take these classroom session only on weekends, that is Friday and Saturday, due to the busy schedule of the working professionals. We know that they do not have any holiday, so we take it on on Saturdays and Sundays. Okay. Mr. Muhammad, let me talk to the management regarding this. Okay, and if we find any solution regarding your visa problem, okay, then we will write back to you. Okay, and in any case, surely we will provide you an email stating the status. Okay. Okay, at the end, I would like to thank all the participants and Mr. Stanley for providing their valuable time here. Okay, and I think most of you are benefited from this session. Okay, and let's conclude this session for now, and we can have a one-to-one discussion in the email or over the phone call. You have the phone number with you, okay, in the Florence signature. You can also drop a WhatsApp message as well on that. Okay, so for the ease of your communication, I'm saying you that you can drop a WhatsApp message on that phone number as well. Okay, so to all the participants, I think this is the time to leave now. Okay, and wish you all the best. Thank you very much for coming. Have a nice evening ahead. Thank you.